everyone is jumping in right now, but I just wanted to welcome everyone to another wonderful Wisdom Wednesday. And today we have a special guest, Genesis Suarez from Digital Resource. Genesis, how are you?
Hello. I'm great. How are you?
Amazing, amazing. Again, thank you so much for taking time again after the holidays to come and spend time with us. We met during a panel discussion that you were on, and I really
Yeah.
resonated with a lot of the things that you had spoke about in regards to leadership and life lessons, and even hiring as well. So, would love to share some of that wisdom with the people, with our followers right now.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming up to me after it. I'm super excited.
Absolutely. Well, just to kind of like jump right in, how did you even get into this line of work?
It is the only job I've ever had. Even it started in high school. I was in DECA, which was like a marketing chapter, and we went to competitions. And every single job I've had, I've either figured out a way to get into marketing or sit next to somebody who is doing the marketing.
Right.
And so it's really been the only job I've ever known, and I've never lost that passion for it.
Amazing. And so even
Yeah.
as you mentioned like passion, like I guess when did you find out that you were actually passionate about that early on?
Well, I took the class because it was a class as well. I took the class
Mhm.
because they allowed you to leave early to have a job. So I was like, oh, I could leave school early. I'm
Yeah,
in.
right.
Um, and I every chapter, every book we read, every mock scenario, I just fell more and more in love with it. So it really just started that I wanted to skip school
Yeah.
and turned into what ended up being like my entire career.
Which is pretty amazing that when you think about it, the fact that you kind of found your place, that early on.
Hmm.
So how important is that to you say some of the listeners that we have out there that are in high school or in college right now?
I know that that doesn't happen very often, and so I know how lucky and blessed I am that I kind of ran into it pretty early. I would say don't don't stress about it. I think that the more pressure you put on, the harder it is to make that decision. But immerse yourself in whatever you're interested in. And so even if you're like, well, I think I'm interested in these three things, pick one, immerse yourself in it, go into the second one, immerse yourself in it, and you're going to figure out which one is the best fit for you. Um, but I mean, I know not everybody does that, but when you do find it, just surround yourself around those people that are going to help, influence that and move that forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's obviously huge, especially when you're thinking about parents and being like, "Oh, you need to find your place in this world." It's like, "Mom, I'm 5 years old." It's like, "I know, but
Yeah,
still," So,
yeah. There
um,
was plenty of arguments with my mom, so I get it.
I mean, what is she saying now that things have kind of panned out?
It was really cool. I had a like kind of a little date night with her one night, and she just hugged me. She's like, "I'm really proud of you." And I was like, "Oh, wow." I'm like, "This just happened." So,
Yeah,
I think she realizes where the kind of the decisions and the stumbles I made
yeah.
actually kind of paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, shout out to you for just even trusting yourself. I think sometimes we're following paths that our parents, may want, and you actually know what's best for you to a certain degree. So love that, man.
Trust your instinct. Yeah, I think people need to trust their instincts a little bit more.
Right. And there's really like there's no 101 class for that, right? It's like you kind of gotta
No.
tell, your family and the world like who you actually are, So
Yeah.
that is great. Now, obviously in regards to like marketing, what would you say are some great ways to make brands stand out?
I mean, just like with a person, I think it's gonna be like, find your personality
Yeah.
in the brand or, when I'm talking to a client, um, I wanna deliver the information, their product, whatever that is, in their tone of voice, and so finding what that personality is and what you can offer to your audience. Everyone has a niche audience, it's not everybody. You're not going to reach everybody or talk to everybody. So figuring out what that personality is, show it off, nurture it, evolve it, figure it out. And making it as relatable to whatever your audience is, making that relatable and digestible for them. So I think that's probably going to be like the best like, first step is like who are you and what do you want to say?
No, absolutely. And I think those are such a great points. Again, just figuring out like who you are, right? Because that's going to help, I think, direct and dictate your voice, right? And then also the
Exactly.
very important thing where you're not wasting time, money, and energy because accepting the fact that everyone isn't your audience.
Hmm.
Like no way,
Yeah.
there's no way to make everyone happy all the time. And ultimately, if somehow you did find out, then you're not happy. So
Yeah, exactly. Or please let me know how you figured that one out. But
absolutely.
but yeah, yeah, I think that's, you're no one's business is the wait, hold on. No one's business is going to reach everyone all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like not every single person is your consumer. So figure out who it is.
And that's so important. Absolutely. And so even as you're like helping brands, find their voice, I'm sure that you probably like come across a lot of like campaigns or other brands and you're like, no, why would they do that? Like, or
Yeah.
that's not even fitting for them. So what would you say some of the red flags are in regards to like branding for a company?
Well, I think the consumer is pretty smart and is going to figure out that how disingenuous you're being pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So on like the branding side of it, staying really true to who you are, not trying to fake it
Yeah.
or be something else is really important. And then on like the marketing side, is just following a trend to be the trend. I think that's also a huge one too right now is
Yeah.
there's a trending audio or a dance and like every single brand or business or person wants to do it.
Right. Right.
It doesn't always fit. Now, there's probably a way to figure out how it fits into your business,
True.
um, but don't try to do every single trend. Like it's gonna fall flat. Figure out which one's gonna work for you and your audience.
Absolutely. And I think, again, that's so huge in regards to saving resources as well as like your own energy because there are, like you said, there are ways to properly fit things in so that it's like relevant to your brand. But if you're just doing a dance just to do a dance because everyone else is doing it, then I don't know who really wants to follow another follower in that regard.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. Make sure that if you're doing it, that you're also giving that kind of nugget of information that is going to be, exclusive to you or to your audience.
yeah, no, absolutely. And then obviously, as we're speaking about that as well, I think as you're looking at other companies and helping them with their campaigns, how important is it for your team to be aligned? And especially when you're bringing new people on your team to be able to just broadcast for them.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the most important things because you could have the best campaign and the best ideas, but if your team isn't aligned,
Yeah.
it's I it's not gonna work, right?
Right.
So where, if we have, if our ads team isn't talking to our creative team to make sure that they're getting the right stuff,
Right.
and being able to push that message forward together, it's gonna fall flat no matter what. And so everybody has to be in line. I love having those kind of strategy meetings where we just bring everybody into a room, whether it's 10 minutes or 30 minutes or an
Yeah.
hour. Um, but let's all get on the same page. I'm the voice box for my client. So I want to make sure that I'm giving all of the information,
Hmm.
um, so that we can kind of hit the ground running and everybody knows what the end goal is. But if we're not aligned and everybody has kind of different ideas,
Yeah.
it's going to fall flat no matter what.
No, absolutely. And it's funny that you kind of segued already into that because I was going to ask you, just for the other leaders that are listening right now, whether they're CEOs or VPs or CIOs, just in regards to like how are you able to get everyone on the same page? Because sometimes people just like shoot at a vision and be like, all right, everyone do this, but now people are rowing in different directions. So
Yeah.
great that you talked about that's one of your strategies to get everyone aligned. Is there any other strategies that you have in regards to getting a team aligned before you take off?
Um, well, I think, I guess it kind of still falls under the alignment, but like also just being open to everyone's ideas and conversations. I think I'm on the account management team. I'm like kind of on the client facing team. And so there are times, self-admittedly, I'm like, I have the idea. I know what I'm talking about. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And but I have my strategist whose entire world is Google or Facebook or, social media or SEO. And being able to kind of take that step back and be like, hold on, what are you bringing to the table? And, the idea that I thought I had, could it be evolved a little bit or could it be different? So kind of having that open-mindedness, I think it does still fall under alignment, but
Yeah.
I don't have to lead the charge every single time. It could
Right.
just be
Right.
like, here, I'm trying to get from A to Z. Can you guys help me? And
Right.
that can make the alignment too.
And I think that's really powerful just in regards to the positioning of humility, right? The fact that like I don't have to lead the charge, even though I am the team lead, like you mentioned, that you don't have to
Yeah.
lead all the time, but you also have to have some level of trust to be able to leverage that during leadership. So
That's the hardest part.
eh,
That is the hardest part.
what exactly is the hardest part in that regard?
I think, well, trusting your team. I'm lucky enough that I have a team that I trust wholeheartedly, but I've been in positions where I haven't trusted that team. Um, and so I think that if you put the right people into place,
Yeah.
then that trust is going to happen. But it can be very hard to get there if you don't have the right people in place.
Absolutely. Which kind of leads me into my next question in regards to, we talked and, kind of laughed about this, but red flags and green flags when bringing people on your team, right? Because
Yeah.
everyone who writes marketing on their resume isn't necessarily good. So, what are some red flags? And again, for the people that are listening that are on the market right now, and, they might have had some bad situations getting jobs or been overlooked. I'd love to hear from you. What are red flags that you look for in interviews as well as green flags?
Yeah. I'm probably one of the weirdos that I actually love interviewing. I love having those conversations.
Yeah.
Um, for me, the biggest red flag, the biggest pet peeve I hate the most
What's
is
up, our dog?
when you don't have questions. So if I'm going through that position and I'm kind of giving you a day in the life and going through what we're looking for, and you don't have one single question, I'm done. I'm
Which,
done because
which
I,
also
I
might be really thorough. So, but that's not even an excuse at the moment.
No, because, I think that I'm probably not going to be upfront with why the position is open, right? So if we had, a large turnover that quarter and I need to fill
Right.
those positions, I'm not going to be like, hey, half my team left. Would you like to
You
join my
kind
team?
of hate that limit.
Yeah, right. So I'm just as much as you are interviewing for the job,
Yeah.
you should be interviewing the job that you're going for.
So
And
important.
so, yeah. And so, if you don't have any questions, you don't want to know why the position is open. What does the process look like? What is your like? What what technology are you using? Who's my direct boss? Who do
Yeah.
they report to?
Yeah.
What does that hierarchy look like? What is the culture like? If you don't have any questions and you're just sitting there like, nope, it's good. I'm also going to be concerned about once you sit your butt in that seat,
Right.
are you not going to ask any questions? Are you not going to, or do you even know what you're doing?
Right.
That kind of leads to a whole bunch of other things. So bring questions, ask about the interviewer, what their journey looked like within the company. What does mobility look like for you?
Yeah.
Um, there's so many things, and you could even do offhanded questions like ask, oh, if, I'm interviewing, you, and you ask me if, you tell me I'm going to be, or I tell you I'm going to be your direct report.
Yep.
Your first question would be like, what's your management style?
Like it.
Wouldn't you want to know that before you sit down in the seat,
Nope.
next to me and
Just when do I
and
get paid and how many vacation days do I have off?
I've had very crazy questions in regards to vacation. So
So, oh, and funny enough, I think during the panel, um, I'm pretty sure it was you that had
mhm.
mentioned that one of the people that you were interviewing had asked you to leave the room. Is that correct? And
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah. If you want to kind of go into that as well.
Yeah, we were kind of going through everything, and I had brought another team member in just to kind of give a day in the life and sitting in that seat.
Yeah.
My outlook might be a little bit different than the position I'm hiring for.
Hmm.
And yeah, she was like, "Hey, do you mind if you leave the room and just let me ask a couple of questions to them just to get some unbiased opinions?"
Right.
And at first I was like, "Well, wait, should I mean, it should be the same answers." But then when I kind of stepped out and I thought about it, I'm like, that's actually a really, really great tactic because of course the person next to me is going to be like, everything's great. Now, do I think they're going to like,
Yeah.
tear us
Tell
down
them.
when I leave? Yeah, when I leave the room? No, but I think it allows for a better connection
Yeah.
and ask some questions that maybe I wouldn't have that outlook on, and maybe the person next to me wouldn't want to answer.
Right.
So I really liked that.
I think a lot of people would be scared to ask. Like
Yeah,
when you said that, I was like, that's really like that's really bold, But again, obviously, respect to you, the fact that you're like, hey, yeah, you're secure enough in yourself as well as the team that you've built that
exactly.
what you're saying is going to be transparent throughout, whoever they bring in. So that is great. And then
Exactly.
do green flags, right? When you're speaking to someone and you think, hey, this is absolutely someone I want to bring on my team.
Yeah, I guess kind of the opposite of the red flag is asking of questions.
Yeah,
The more questions, the better, and it doesn't have to just be about the position.
yeah,
Um, I love somebody that brings deliverables, examples of work. Obviously, that's not going to apply to every situation,
yeah,
but being able to be, especially in marketing, like this is what I did with this campaign, and from start to finish, here's what I did.
yeah.
Um, we had a great interview, and somebody that we brought on board that brought a mock scenario, and she was like, "Hey, here's what I would do with this brand," and we were kind of like, "Oh, okay." And in
Yeah,
the second interview, she's like, "Can we do some mock calls? Can we do some, mock situations that you guys are going through right now?"
yeah, yeah,
Um, and those were huge green flags because even if it's somebody that, you know, maybe is kind of just starting out, if they're willing to kind of jump up and be uncomfortable,
yeah.
that is somebody that you want on your team.
Absolutely. And how important is attitude when you're speaking with someone? In regards to someone looking to be a part of your team.
Attitude is everything. Like we spend most of our time together, and how we interact with each other is super important.
Right.
I know that I come off very matter of fact, black and white, borderline, maybe abrasive on Slack. But
Right.
then when I sit in front of you, I'm having a conversation. You kind of can get where I'm at, right?
Right. Right.
So I think that having that face to face and having that attitude of we're on the same team, we're pulling from the same side of the rope, like we all want the same thing. So how do we get there?
Yeah.
But some of those relationships to take time. I don't think that everyone's going to have a positive attitude every single minute of every single day. Um, but I will say that I'm pretty proud of my team that even if someone's kind of, not feeling it that day, somebody else will kind of step up and help with that, and
Yeah.
then you know when that person's a little bit down, they can kind of go back and forth. So it's at your attitude walking into that door and walking into any situation, whether it's good or bad, is going to kind of determine what that outcome looks like.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you sharing that as well because I bring that up specifically because I've spoke with, some candidates that are hyper intelligent, right? Might have come from really great schools, and they might possibly actually be the smartest person in the room. But there's a difference between being the smartest person in the room and walking in like you are, because you can
Right.
also leave ego by the door, and be less confrontational. But some people kind of walk with like a chip on their shoulder, and I've sat in some interviews with clients and the candidate where they're almost trying to make the client look dumb. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
wild, like to show how like much smarter they are than them. And it's like no one wants someone like that on their team, and they wonder why they're on the market for 4, 5, 6 months. And it's like learn to be more pleasurable to be around.
Yeah. Yeah. Humble yourself, be open. Like, no, nobody knows everything. And
Absolutely.
so, people can kind of pick up on if you're going to be that person that, like, I don't even want to talk to you because it's either going to be condescending, I'm going to be
Right.
annoying you. You can pick that up pretty quickly. And it's like, I wouldn't want that kind of negative energy on the team.
At all. Absolutely. You seem like a leader that has a team that loves them. And so I would say, what are some things that you feel make you a great leader?
I mean, I hope so. I hope, they love me. Um, I, I think I try to come, to the relationship with wanting to grow the person. I've always been the people above me have always trained me to be their replacement. And
Mhm.
so I always want to train for my replacement. And so if I can come and help nurture and, like, not always sugarcoat things and
Yeah,
be like, "No, listen, I want you to grow. And so here's the feedback that I want to give you."
yeah,
Um, I try to be really good at, especially when a new person joins the team, asking them what their communication style is,
that's big.
because I do have people on my team that are very, very different communication styles than I
Yeah,
am. And so that I hope that I can kind of go in and maybe be a little bit softer with them, and let them know, like, hey, I'm a little bit more black and white. I'm going to come at you a little bit harder because I
yeah,
know that you can.
yeah.
but they know that before we even sit down.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that kind of style of being able to, push somebody, knowing that if you want to grow and you want to move forward and you want to learn more, like that's where I'm going to push you.
Yeah, absolutely. Which makes sense in regards to questions you'd be asking them in the interview, and then obviously just fleshing that out as they're actually on the floor with you. So
Exactly.
that's awesome. And so that kind of leads into my next and pretty much last question in regards to what are maybe one or two books that have like really impacted your life on leadership that you hold dear to you.
Yeah. It was actually one that I hadn't read until I actually started working here at Digital Resource, and our director had us read it. And I think we all like kind of grumbled, and we're all like, ah, crap.
Right.
But it was How to Talk to Anyone. And especially in account management, I think that it can be applied no matter what, but especially in my role, being able to talk to anyone and getting those examples and situations, and how to mirror, and in the repeating and walking into a room and connecting, and not asking those, like, close-ended questions, and not asking yes or no questions.
Yeah.
It has really helped, not only with working with my team
Mhm.
and other employees, but also connecting with my clients, of
Yeah.
getting I need to squeeze as much information out of you as possible.
So
And if I'm asking you yes or no questions, I'm going to get nowhere.
right.
So that was one really, really good book that I think I still to this day will go back and kind of figure out, after, if I've had, a dicey onboarding call, or I feel like, oh, I didn't really get all of the information that I wanted.
Yeah.
I'll go back and revisit that, and then try to use different tactics the next time I'm on the phone with that person, and kind of see if that helps. So for me, that was kind of number one. Again, I was like,
Who wrote that book?
well, um, Leo, is it Leo Lowndes? Yeah.
Yep. And again, that's
Liel, Lowndes, Lowndess.
okay. And it's called How to Talk to Anyone.
How to Talk to Anyone.
Wonderful, excellent. And did you have another one?
I have another one. It's so funny because last time we talked, I was in the middle of reading it. I am
Yeah.
still in the middle of reading it, but it's not so much on the marketing side, but it's more on like kind of the business and entrepreneurial side.
Yeah.
Um, it's called Tactic,
Okay. I've
and
heard of that.
so yeah, and so that one's really good.
And that's by who?
And that is by Gino. Ooh, I had it right here. I'll get it. I'll get it. Let me. I had it right here. Sorry.
No problem.
Um, but that's been one that I think I've used more on the internal side.
Yeah.
And let's get this book.
Even as you're looking at that up as well, I'll say one of mine, and that's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. Again, just a really powerful book, and breaking down leadership and, understanding yourself, because if you understand yourself, then you'll also understand, people a
Yeah,
lot better, right? And kind of to your point of taking time to understand individual people, right? You can't talk to James the same way you talk to Jill, right? So,
yeah,
and that's how to be able to pull the best out of those people as well, and just understanding their why also.
yeah. It was Gino Wickman.
Awesome. Gino
Yeah.
Wickman.
So I'm almost done with that, but um that's one that's really good if you're kind of in the middle of a restructure, or if you've kind of hit a stall, whether it's with your leadership team or your company in general. I've really liked that one so far.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
that. Gabby, I think you might have a question or two from the audience.
Yes, we have a lot of questions. I don't know if we have enough time, but okay,
We
we
can
are
knock
going.
out two for sure.
Okay, so first one, what's one tip you would give to a small business looking to level up their marketing?
Ooh, talk to an agency, do your research, connect with an agency, um, and really take a look at your budget. Make sure that you are allocating the correct budget for marketing. Make sure you're putting it in the right avenues that make sense for your business. probably going through an agency is going to be the best way to figure that out if that's not your wheelhouse. Um, and give yourself enough grace to A/B test. Not everything's going to be a home run the first day that you throw it out there. So, make sure that you have the budget to do that, and then to kind of test out some different tactics that are going to fit best for your business.
So you are saying that first, like have like talk with an agency that create a marketing team.
Yeah, I mean, if
That's
you
all.
can get, especially with a small business, you will be surprised
Mhm.
that you can get pretty far with an agency that acts as your CMO. You don't have to hire a one single person that's going to manage all of these vendors. So I am very, not just because I work for one, because
Mhm.
I've been on the
Name of
client side
one.
before. Yeah. No, but and it's not. I've been on the client side, and I've been on the side of me managing all of the campaigns all by myself,
Right.
and it is not easy, and it can become overwhelming, and you feel like you have to be everywhere all at once.
Good
Find,
point.
yeah, find an agency that can do all of that for you and basically be that CMO, and run those campaigns with the knowledge and the tools to do so. Um, and then give yourself enough budget to kind of test different things out to make sure that what figuring out what's working is going to be what's going to push you forward.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you. Next one. How do you balance creativity with analytics when building a marketing strategy?
That's a good one.
That is a good one. It's a little bit of both. It depends on where I'm at in the process of which hat I'm gonna kind of, put on. The creative side is super fun, and the ideas and the thoughts, but the analytics behind it is going to tell you either what's working, what your audience wants. I am a huge proponent of facts, not feelings. And so I probably lean a little bit more towards the analytical side than the creative side, but that's also why I have a creative team that I can rely on,
Love
because
it.
I'm going to probably be a little bit more on that analytical side. Um, but you have to look at both and see, once you have that creative out there, if you're running videos on YouTube or, Facebook ads, programmatic, OTT, great. Get that messaging out there and you leverage those creative minds, but use the analytics to see what is working and what you need to swap out and maybe test out something else.
Yeah.
Great.
So good.
I love this one. Genesis, what's your advice for staying ahead of constantly changing social media algorithms and now with AI?
I it it's crazy. It changes literally by the minute, by the day.
Good to change right now.
Um, yeah, it something is going viral right now and we had no idea. And so I think that immersing yourself in the actual platforms and seeing what people are doing is super important. Sign up for as many certifications and classes. They're constantly refreshing them,
Yeah.
to see like what's next. There's plenty of AI classes, Facebook and social media and Google and all of that. They offer all of these certifications that you can take a look at and kind of have that basic knowledge, and they're constantly refreshing them. Um, but immerse yourself in those trends and see what is happening, and then put your brand's hat on to see how it could work for you.
Awesome.
But you won't know what's trending or what's going on if you're not in it. So don't delete the social media apps off your phone just yet,
Okay.
and allow yourself some scrolling time.
And
So
for
good.
marketing agencies or in industries, easy to adapt to these changes?
Um, I like to think so. I think that we try, like when something comes out, especially like when AI was coming out and figuring out how we could use it. Um, I think that agencies try to stay ahead of it, because by the time it gets to the client, we want to be able to have the answers and know if it was working or not yet. So I think we have a responsibility to stay ahead of that, because I don't ever want the client to come to me and be like, "Have you heard of this?" and me
Of course
say
we
no.
And
have.
that you don't know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And me say no. I never want that to happen. So it's probably the biggest responsibility on the agency side to stay ahead of it.
Love that.
Great.
Well, again, thank you so much for your time, Genesis.
Oh, we
Oh,
have
did you do another
one.
one?
I think we have
Okay.
time for the
Okay.
last one.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay, so very inspiring everything. And there are a lot of tools for marketing. Which one do you recommend us? Like your favorite, I suppose.
Right now, it's Chat GPT. Like,
Really?
and yeah, as far as in my role where I am turning out reports, I am looking at so many numbers, so many spreadsheets. The fact where it would take me 5 days to put together a QBR or YBR for a client
Right.
that I'm teaching my chatbot basically about my client, feeding it as much information as possible, and then dumping a bunch of numbers and saying, give me the report that I need. And it's giving it to me so that I can then go in and analyze it
Crazy.
and put it together and
So
talk to it.
it's a
Yeah.
big support. You can move faster with it.
No, I put to a client asked this happened yesterday. On Monday, they were like, "Hey, can we review some of these numbers?" And it would have taken me hours and hours and hours to put together this report. And I already had my bot ready with their information and I threw it in there and it spit it back out. I had to do a couple, couple modifications
Yeah.
and it
Mhm.
sent it back to me and then I was presenting to that client by yesterday afternoon.
That's wild.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's probably my biggest help right now in tool, but you have to train it right
Yeah.
and talk to it nicely.
Yeah. No, no. And
Thank you so much,
powerful.
Genesis. Now your turn is.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much, Gabby. But again, really great point in regards to that because some people are fighting against technology, and it's like no, like the wave is here; it's gonna happen regardless. So you might as well use it to your own benefit in that regard, so that you can be able to do your job more effectively and better and with less
Exactly.
of a headache. So again. Genesis, we appreciate you so much. Thank you
Yeah.
for your marketing genius that you blessed us with all the wisdom. I hope
Oh,
that
thank you. Thank you.
got a lot of value from this out there. And again, thank everyone for joining in for another Wisdom Wednesday. Go
I
dominate,
appreciate it.
of course. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.